Uh, so happy New Year, Clay.
That's it. Happy New Year to
Happy
you,
New
my
Year.
friend.
That's the end. Good night, everyone.
Good night. Goodbye. I need to fart now.
So yeah, I just wanted to, gosh, I know it hasn't been exactly a year or anything. Technically, we haven't. Our first video really came out mid-May of last year,
Okay.
2023.
Yeah.
But we actually were working on it before that. We were like around February. We were really starting to work on Cinematic Suffering, the new iteration of it.
Yeah,
And
we were bouncing ideas around, prepping artwork, and just kind of spitballing our creative direction for the show.
yeah, and I thought, oh well, since everyone's doing it, just like we did our previous holiday show, like you saw before. I hope you saw before. I guess I should introduce this. This is Cinematic Suffering. Uh,
We do horror movies. We talk about those things on this.
Anything horror related, we're totally into it.
That's
And
it.
I just wanted to take a dive back. It's been almost a year since we first talked about reviving Cinematic Suffering for where it was before, where we left it, to this new thing that we're doing now, and just to kind of reflect on how far I think we've come and what we've put out. And yeah, what say you?
Yeah, that sounds good. Announce our total dissolution of the business and this entity. This would be a good time to kind of do that. Just say we're kind of giving up. I think it's time to
Well,
quit.
I didn't want to like spill the beans, but that's true. But I did get bought out by several big companies. Amazon has picked up what I want, the podcast, so I got a heaping amount of money, like $2 million. So
Okay, which you're totally going to share with me.
of course,
Your creative partner in this endeavor. No, but in all seriousness this time, because we're such serious folk, yeah, we started the podcast off as an audio only thing. It was, based off your idea to watch all of the horror movies on Netflix A to Z. And that was a fun experiment. What was the most fun about that, aside from sitting down and actually doing the podcast and chopping it up, was some of the skits that we would come up with, which if you're doing a radio style thing, it kind of lends itself to more of that tomfoolery than if you're just looking at our stupid faces the whole time. So it's kind of hard to be a character if you're visible.
And I'll be honest, I really want to bring that back to this. Hopefully we can do it this year, that kind of style of what we did in those, because I always go back and listen to those old episodes and I'm laughing my ass off.
They were fun.
I had a good point. I had a good amount of time up to a point, until the movies started to become a very big slog to get through. But yeah, I would love to reincorporate some of the things that we did on the audio only version of the podcast. But yeah, I remember like in January or maybe even in December of 2022, January 2023, that I was like kind of fishing around to do something, and kind of do anything. I wasn't doing any music. I wanted to do something somewhat creative, and I wasn't really doing that. I was just kind of finished up with my mother's estate, and all that stuff had been settled. And I was like, why don't we try to do Cinematic Suffering again? And that's when we really started brainstorming together and spitballing ideas and about what we wanted to do different, and that it's going to be definitely a more visual medium this time.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, and when you texted me and asked if I wanted to do it again, I couldn't have said yes quick enough. I was like, yes, please, yes. At the time I was in hindsight, it seems so bizarre and surreal, but like I was talking to this hood rat friend of mine that I used to know, and I knew the guy wasn't shit. I knew he was, bad guy. And he was like, yeah, he caught me in a time when I was real down and really way drunker than I had any business to be. And I agreed to do a podcast with him and gave him some seed money, which is totally stupid. It's like giving your cokehead friend some money. Now you bring this back, like I'm lending you this.
I want you to double my investment.
Yeah, you said this is for crypto. This isn't going up your stupid nose, right? But yeah, and of course I might as well have set fire to it. And it was, like, and the thing that sucked about that is you realize that your friendship with somebody isn't even worth a full $1,000.
Wow.
That's what kind of sucks. It's like, man, you burnt me for such a paltry amount over some. But anyway, so when that came along, I realized, the whole time I just wanted to do Cinematic Suffering again anyway. And in hindsight, I was like, why didn't we just do that? Because there was not like wasn't any this big, we didn't have a falling out, or there wasn't any kind of weird thing that ended it. It was just kind of life happened. I mean, you've been in countless, not countless, but you've been in a bunch of creative projects, and I'm sure that you can kind of elaborate on this. When they break up, it's not necessarily like everybody's mad at one another. It just ran its course, or it needed some time to kind of return from the ashes, as it were.
Sure. Yeah, there's from a band perspective, there's been heated attitudes, but especially if you've been on tour for quite a bit, that when you come back from tour, you don't want to see any of those guys for a certain amount of time. No one is anxious to get back into it right after doing a long tour. Everyone wants to take a break, and that usually happens, and it usually happened like 3 or 4 months in our case. We would just break from each other, and then we start talking about getting back together and start doing stuff later. But the first iteration of Cinematic Suffering was like that. It kind of petered out a little bit, but it wasn't anything between us or anybody. It was just like, okay, we got other things going on, we can't really commit to it like we were.
And it's like, I'm so tired of this framing everybody's this is going to be this annoying frame of reference that we're going to have for the rest of our stupid lives is friggin' COVID. I hate it, but that happened. And I think that kind of, I think that societally we're still getting over that. And there's another way that horror has been very kind of therapeutic in a way. I think it kind of helps you get through those things. But we found out that I think we all found out that societally that it's not good to just stay in your own head and in your own basement for years on it.
Although, you think you can it's like, oh, well, I usually don't, go anywhere anyways, or I just spend all time at home anyway, so it's not going to be a real big issue, but it really kind of did. And just with all life happening and everything that's happened to both of us, over time, that, I think this is the time to do something really cool and creative and a little bit different. And one of the different things that we definitely are doing with Cinematic Suffering is the watch throughs together, which have been so fun. And I've thoroughly enjoyed watching these movies, no matter how shitty they are. You being along for the ride at the same time makes them so much more enjoyable.
Well, it's so much fun because it's one of these scenarios where you and I both don't know what kind of jokes are going to come out of it. It's good. It's one. I think the kind of the one caveat that we have, or the one rule, is that we both have to have not seen it, because then you're coming to it with expectations, and whether you plan to or not, you're going to have a zinger that's in your pocket, and it's disingenuous at that point. We just do them off the cuff. Sometimes it's like, I got nothing. I got nothing. We are watching these people drive down the road for 28 minutes. I don't know what's happening. This movie is terrible.
It feels like you can only say so much before you start saying, am I just talking now to hear the sound of my voice because there's nothing going on screen?
Wouldn't it be fun if I farted into the mic? Like, it would not.
And that's, it just turned out to be a great experience. And, when we were putting together the list, because our initial thing was that we wanted to prepare some videos so we could start releasing them weekly. And we got about a list of 4 or 5 movies that we wanted to watch. We wanted to watch to get, do our watch throughs. We wanted to do the clips, and we need to do the reviews afterwards. And so we got up exactly several movies to do that. So the first one you suggested, and that was Goblin, which came out which we released on May 15th, but we'd actually recorded that probably back in March. Around March time frame.
Yeah, and that was one that I just did. like I went onto YouTube and I Googled the like low budget movie, and I think that the video that I found said like this is hilarious, or this is something, all the wrong reasons, that kind of thing. I'm like, all right, this looks like, it's on Amazon Prime. That was another one of my
right. Yeah.
God forbid I pay for this stuff.
And it was like the perfect movie to kind of ease back into the rhythm of it, because it was a short movie for one, and another, there was so many moments of comedy gold that we commented on, that it was just, and this was a movie that we got feedback from one of the people that were associated with the movie, and they weren't exactly happy with us, because they thought we were picking on the only kid in the movie. But if they had actually listened to the commentary, we were saying he was the best actor in the whole damn movie.
Oh, I know. And that had to have been his mom. That was we like haters. It makes us stronger. It's like, for one thing, Mom, who's us? You weren't in that movie. But it's just, I mean, and no offense to her. I mean, we were both very nice to her and stuff. So I'm not like taking this opportunity to trash her now, but just, man, parents are the friggin' worst. It's like they cannot see their own kids' failings or anything. They get so especially these Hollywood moms seem like they'd just be intolerable, just so wrapped up in their own kid's career. It's kind of annoying. I just imagine her going through Google, and then she finds something, and then she finds our smart ass. And oddly, that's been most of our interaction. Has been people involved with the films that are pissed off for us shitting all over.
Aliens Zone Zero, or whatever the hell that name. We did it was a
Zone of Silence.
Zone of Silence that we did back in 2018 when the first iteration of Cinematic Suffering. Someone finally listened to the episode. She was the main actor in the film, and we came at her pretty hard in the movie when we were discussing it.
And I didn't think about it, because it was one of those things to where it's like, who, what movie? And then I had to think about it, and I was like, and then I listened to that podcast episode myself, and it was like, she sat there and listened to an hour of us talk about how shitty her movie was and how much I wanted to sniff her behind for the whole time too. So it's like, she didn't mention that part of it.
She didn't, which was hilarious. But she did, and I remember seeing that comment come up on our Instagram page, which, by the way, we do have an Instagram page, Cinematic Suffering.
If you say so.
And she came up and commented on, because I posted that years ago, and then she's told us we're so wrong about our what we're talking about the movie, about how it was made. And I was like, well, these are just opinions. Of course, we're going to be wrong about some things, but it's funny to see the interactions that we have had. Another one was Veronica that we did, the Clint Danzig, that we released that on May 22nd. And
I have a hot, warm spot in my heart for that one. I'll still watch that one and laugh at the video. Like this one smart ass online talked shit about it. He said that I'm funnier in real life, or just some, it's the thing about surrounding yourself with assholes too. You get a lot of fun feedback from people that are supposed to be your friends. That's fun.
But it's always nice getting the sarcastic, smarmy comments saying you suck. And hoping they're not genuine.
But they totally are. It's like if it's one of those things. It's like, that's on me. I choose poorly sometimes, but you are the exception, obviously. But
Veronica, we did have feedback from one of the actors in the film.
Oh yeah.
And I want to say one or two of them, at least one of them, the person who played the detective in the first or second story. It was one of the stories that he said he had a lot of stories about, working on set with Glenn Danzig, and these are just like little opportunities that unfortunately we didn't jump on that, when we had the opportunity. But it doesn't mean we're too late to ask him if he wants to come on and talk about Veronica.
It was misplaced ego. It's like, no, we're waiting to get a call from Glenn himself. I'm sure he can't wait to call us up. after we talk just so much shit about his movie. I heard a story where during the premiere of that movie that Glenn Danzig got up after the audience saw it. And he was like, "You guys laughed at all the wrong stuff."
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's hard to see Glenn Danzig with that much a humorous bone when it comes to his personal creative projects, but I'm assuming he has some kind of tough skin when it comes to it, because he's been in the business for so long. He's got to not be too concerned about it anymore.
Well, if he survived that whole debacle of getting punched in the face and then everybody on the internet wanting to make fun of him because he's a cat lover, that's a good quality, man. The guy loves animals. It's like,
sure.
I mean, like I've said it before, I'll say it again. I love Glenn Danzig. I'm sure that he's probably a terrible person if you really get down to it. But when it comes to creative output, I have nothing but respect for them.
Yeah, super talented for sure. Our first episode of Bits and Chunks came out before Veronica on May 18th. And that was just kind of like a one-off thing where I had an idea where, this is where we can just pretty much talk about anything. It doesn't necessarily even have to be about horror movies, but whether it's something we saw again or a new movie that we saw that we thought was pretty good, or just a concert experience or anything really.
Yeah, I think that horror is definitely kind of the lily pad that we jump off from, with that one. We try to kind of compare notes and see, okay, I saw this movie this week, so I'll try to watch the same one so we have something to talk about, because it'd be pretty stupid if it's like, I saw this movie, was it good? I mean, okay.
What was it about? Well, I mean, I can't give away too much because it's, it'll ruin the plot for you.
Okay. Like, all right. Well, this is you can actually watch the view count dial backwards.
Yeah.
That one is fun. I like all of our content, but that's a fun one to do because you can just it's the most podcasty of our podcasts.
Yeah, totally. Pretty much a pure podcast episodes when it comes to Bits and Chunks. May 29th, we released the infamous movie Leave.
Yes.
A Norwegian bait and switch movie.
Yes. I wrote some notes, and I'm not going to just read from my notes, but this was actually pretty good. I said, well, I can't even, after digesting countless films that are objectively less competent, Leave remains a film that we both have possibly unfair degree of disdain for. It's boring as hell. The characters have the depth of a rain puddle. The color palette looks like warm dog upchuck, and the plot doesn't make a lick of sense. Leave is a one-word instruction to the audience. Is what I wrote in my little handy-dandy diary.
And I think we actually posted that up on as an Amazon review, if I'm not mistaken. I know we were
we need to get back into those.
Yeah, for sure. That was a gimmick that we were trying to start, but I think after, it might have been later on down with Last Shift when I tried to, or Children of the Corn, where I tried to post something that you had wrote, but I had edited just a little bit to take out some of the swear words a little bit. And tone it down. That they still rejected it because it was too mean. So it's like, okay.
Amazon rejected it.
Amazon rejected. Says your review goes against community standards, and we're not going to post it. So I was like, all right.
Fuck out of here with that. I mean, which means that you can't trust anything that you see on Amazon or anywhere else. That's what's so frustrating about the world, is that everybody's got an angle and everybody wants to be an influencer. I mean, granted, we're doing it too, so the hypocrisy is staring us right.
Oh yeah, for sure. But it does seem a little disingenuous when the review itself was brutally honest, and like I said, most of the insults had been taken out. The funnier ones, but were great. It's just, I don't think there's anything specifically that was over the top myself,
No,
but
I mean,
I was trying to conform to Amazon standards, and even that wasn't enough. So, no, what are you gonna
this movie wasn't as good. Follow
do?
me on Instagram. Here's all my social media links.
But I think that's all that needs to be said about Leave. We released that on May 29th. So right now we're releasing these weekly because we've already got these in the what is it the shotgun ready to pump out and shoot into YouTube reality and onto the podcast realm. So the next one we go into is Beyond the Gates.
Yeah, that's right.
This is the one that we released on June 5th, and this is the one we always had trouble with the name because we could not particularly remember what it was called every time we try to recall it, even in the review.
Well, it's like, I mean, I kept trying to make it the gates of Beyond the Gates of Slumber. It's like, it's not a doom rock band. It's
I was like saying is Gates of Hell or something. I would say something the Gate or something like that.
Yeah, and that one was oddly enough, it was the second evil board game movie that we had watched during our various iterations of cinematic suffering. I think that I don't know. In certain ways, 13 Demons. I think that was the name of the other one.
It
was the same plot. I thought that both were flawed movies, and that I like certain things about both movies too.
Yeah.
I kind of liked that. Beyond the Gates. I already forgot. I closed my book. Beyond the Gates is what it was called. Yes, it's impossible to remember the name of your movie. It's literally can't be done.
Maybe it's the curse that falls on anyone who watches Beyond the Gates, because I'm keep looking at the name over here on my screen, so I know what it's called. But yeah, it was an okay movie. It's an average. We had plenty of time to work with our riffs, and there were some pretty cool effect scenes that came off well.
Yeah, there was like anytime the movie started to dip a little bit too much, they kind of pulled it back by having a nice head explode or somebody's guts unspool. It was populated mostly with actors that had met each other on doing the live version of Reanimator.
Yeah,
and you could kind of tell, like, there was so many Stuart Gordon references, and all the actors had that very, I'm used to being up on the stage, I'm a thespian. They had that kind of quality about their performance, but it was fun. I mean, we've definitely watched worse.
Definitely watched worse. And I wouldn't even say the next one on the list isn't worse. It was the Deep Ones.
I enjoyed that one too.
Yeah, we pumped this out on June 12th, and this was a bad one, don't get me wrong, but it was bad in a good way where we can enjoy it, but we could also see all the holes and the drunkenness that was involved with the party that put this together.
It was funny because we were watching it, and we watched it, and I didn't have any context for the movie. And I think that if I remember correctly, we even said during the movie that this feels like that there was just a house party, and they said, bring your cameras and let's make a movie. And it turned out that's exactly what happened. That's precisely what happened. And so it's got this party atmosphere, but I mean, people's work ethics were obviously slipping during the filming of this. It meanders and it goes all over the place.
It does. It's not the most tightest. It doesn't have the tightest plot or thread of a story, but there are some enjoyable parts as far as creature effects and some use of the special effects that they have, and so that made it a little bit more enjoyable.
Yeah, it definitely had sexual overtones, which it knew it needed to.
Next one on the list was one of our first kind of written out riff experiences where we wrote the riff, and we actually watched it beforehand and sat down and wrote out some riffs similar to MST3K style, which was Devil's Island, that we released on June 19th.
Yep, and that was a very low budget movie that was shot on an island here in America. I think it was near New York somewhere, the East Coast somewhere.
Yep.
And it was, like it had the quality of being written as it's being filmed, but it was an incomprehensible movie that didn't seem to go anywhere or know what it wanted to say or do. But I still really enjoyed it, probably because I felt that the jokes that we were writing for it actually worked. I
Yeah.
thought when you're writing, you're thinking, yeah, man, I'm going to have to put in my notice at work soon. This is comedy gold. You know, you
Right.
get delusions of grandeur, but I'm still proud of the riff that we wrote for it. We, much like MST3K, I think we approached it collaboratively more than just strictly just mocking the movie.
Yeah, I enjoyed the approach to it. I think during Devil's Island, you had probably put more view time into the movie than I had until I think I put in a little last couple of seconds, you know, like, oh shit, we could put this in, or you know, kind of like sprinkle more little riffs throughout. One thing that I learned was like timing of the riffs was a big thing. Being able to read the script and knowing where we were at time wise was kind of hard to keep up with the time codes and everything, but we did pull it out. I think what made it really fun was like sometimes I would just totally flub a line and I would say your line, or I would say something in a voice that didn't need to be said in a voice, and I would just laugh at myself. And you can hear that on the watch through if you ever want to watch the Devil's Island full riff of that. It's we both had a great time with it because it's mostly scripted, but there are some improv moments that just throw us for a loop.
Yeah, and some of the funnier stuff was stuff that we just came up with on the fly, and it's in the video that you can watch here on YouTube of the highlight,
the commentary highlights.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I have to mention the shorts because we have been putting out certain shorts when it comes to some of these movies. Most of them are just like kind of little tidbits of the commentary from the movies, and Goblin really kind of took off with that. There's one scene in that movie there where the guy's just banging on a door going. Volume or whatever the fuck he's saying, but it was totally bizarre and odd to look at. And it got like 6,000 views on shorts, and we're like, oh shit, okay, maybe we should do more shorts.
Well, and we probably still should. I mean, it's just it's one thing that I learned real quick doing this is that it's probably madness to try to chase the algorithm, because what works and what lands doesn't necessarily make sense. You almost have to just kind of go into it and like put out stuff that you think is funny and that you think is entertaining, that you think somebody might get something out of a moment, entertainment out of watching, and hope that it catches on. Because if you get too wrapped up in it, it's like 6 views. This is bullshit, man. I worked for an hour and a half of editing this goddamn thing and no one's watching it. So it's the curse of every YouTuber.
Yeah, it's chasing the dragon. That's the algorithm for sure. I mean, we've had it ourselves where a video will get 1,000 views or 600, 700 views, and then the next one gets 30 or 20. And I'm like, wow, what was it about this video? And you're trying to look up what was it about that video that made it catch the algorithm that this video is not doing it, and there's no secret. Everyone says they have the secret to it. I've seen it all over YouTube, and there's no secret. It's just pure fucking luck. That's all it is.
Well, and I've noticed that the people that make the videos saying that they have the secret, it's like, you're the most annoying person that I've ever looked at. You're just like, I'd rather get less viewership than be you. I'm not talking about anybody specifically, just these spastic, annoying, overly exuberant YouTubers.
It's amazing how the algorithm happens and how they think people need to be entertained. I think the people who watch us might be a little bit more intelligent, and I'm hoping they are. You never know. We don't have to jump through fire or hoops or juggle for people to be entertained. Hopefully we can watch a good movie and talk about it, and they'll be like, oh yeah, they're full of shit. I'll never come back and listen to them again.
I hate these guys, but I genuinely hate them.
Right. I like the genuine hate instead of the fake hate.
Yeah.
Our next movie was Last Shift, which we pumped out on June 26th.
Yeah. The obvious joke was just remove the F.
That's it. Last Shit. I just had to. I had to do the math there, but yeah, this was one that we weren't particularly happy about watching. I remember that not only was it hard to get through, but it was just it just was bland and average in every way possible. It felt like it, and
it was so boilerplate.
Yeah, and there was even a remake. The director did a remake of his own fucking film. called Malum. So Malum is basically a remake of Last Shift. So, and I haven't seen Malum because why would I if it's just going to be Last Shift except upgraded to 4K? I don't know.
Well, and he doesn't seem to hate Last Shift. It's not like, okay, I really jacked that one up. Let me redo it. And there's worse movies, but it was just like, for something that had so much like effects, there was a lot of demon face effects and stuff, and it was just still screamingly boring. The whole thing took place inside an actual abandoned police station, which you
located
would think,
in Sanford, Florida. Yep.
Oh yeah, which that alone, it's like, okay, I mean, we're both familiar with the area. It's like, all right, this is going to be a banger. But it was just it didn't feel spooky. It just felt like an abandoned building, and it was another one of these things where the plot meandered and it didn't really tell you enough about what's going on. And when it did, you're still like, okay, it was just it's kind of a non-event of a movie.
Yeah. I remember us having this is another one of those movies that it was so bad that we had an actual hard time riffing it for a bit. Because I think we're just so quiet on, just because we're just amazed at how nothing was happening. And if nothing's happening, then nothing's happening on our end because we need something to happen to respond to.
Yeah, exactly. So, and like, it was just like big pregnant pauses of her sitting there nibbling her lunch, waiting for a call to come in. And then it was like, wait a minute, tell me where you are. And when the call does come in, it's just the most like, oh God, this is so painfully predictable.
So after that, I'd taken my trip to England to see Iron Maiden, and you and your friend Tony Salvaggio had stepped in with a couple of episodes of Bits and Chunks to just talk about movies and life and stuff. And so I was so glad that you guys held it down and got some content out while I was away, and that was really entertaining to listen to.
That was cool. Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed that. And it was fun for me because, I mean, I've known Tony a long time. We've been friends since college. He's, kind of real big in the scene. He's a fellow musician. His next album with his band Deserts of Mars is coming out sometime soon, I think. Yep. And he let me listen to it. It's going to be a banger. It's
okay, cool.
Really good. Yeah. But Tony is really into horror movies, and he's a big contributor in the genre world, and that was a good conversation. We had a lot of good times talking. So.
Yeah, I remember I had some downtime over there in England, and I was just listening to the episodes and really enjoyed them. When I got back though, and I wanted to get back into, okay, let's go full tilt running. We decided on Children of the Corn. The remake. God.
Yeah, the one of many remakes that's come out. Yeah,
and this was another painful one. Although I think it was easier to make fun of, the remake itself was just pure garbage in our opinion, and it was another one of those where I had to leave. Was like one of my worst movies I ever seen since we started this, and then I was like, okay, Children of the Corn is going to push that up. So Leave is no longer the bottom of the barrel. It's now Children of the Corn remake.
Yeah, it was pretty. I felt that we had a little bit easier time mocking that one though, because there was a lot of people talk to one another a lot more in their. I love it when you could young actors try a little bit too hard, and this movie was just packed with that. Like, okay, you're the evil girl. Like, I'm the evil girl. I'm really gonna go for it. Oh
yeah, geez. Oh yeah, and the actors were just the children actors just way over the top. And you had some pretty choice words about that, and you even said that in your review that was unfortunately not posted to Amazon Prime, as we said. So on August 16th, because we were kind of lacking in some content, I don't know, we had some downtime. I think both of us had some live stuff come up. So I decided that, maybe we should start pushing out our Cinematic Suffering classics from when we first started.
Yeah.
So the first one up was 13 Cameras, which is I put up here on the channel August 16th. But if you go back and see our podcast, the actual Cinematic Suffering podcast, you can see I posted it a long time ago, years ago. So I just wanted to put those out, just in case the newer audience that we have wasn't familiar with the older stuff, they could hear it at least and say, "Oh, okay, this is either dumb or whatever they're doing." But so, I know what we're doing actually during this moment, because the next movie we went into was Death Metal.
Yeah,
During
and that
this,
one took a lot of prep work.
so that's what we were doing between Children of the Corn and Death Metal, which we released on August 28th. So there's like a whole month there of us watching this movie. We probably, between both of us, I probably watched it 6 times.
6 or 7 times.
Yeah, and so total, we had a good baker's dozen in there of amount of times between both of us that we've seen the movie. And that's because we were writing a full-on script for it. If there's anything ad-libbed, there, it was rare, because there was no room to put an ad-lib unless you needed an ad-lib off the script.
Well, it's one of those movies where the characters are talking to one another pretty quickly. Like the dialogue comes at you pretty quick. So we had to kind of jump in there and shoehorn our dialogue in. And that was one where you mentioned timing before. That one was tough because, like, we had to be kind of like this. Like it was.
You're going back and forth from the script to the screen, script, screen. And it was one of those things that, we missed a few cues, a few time codes. And then, I'd said a line that should have been your line and vice versa. We had this thing set up. So whatever I was thinking, I asked you to re-record your lines, what we asked, because we did another review of all the things that we fucked up on.
Yeah.
So after we did our first record of it, we went through it again to mark down everything that we messed up. And then I took those notes and I re-recorded my parts and you re-recorded your parts. And then I, in my editing software, just put everything back together. And it looks like this Frankenstein stitched monster throughout the entire thing. I don't know if I have a picture of it.
You showed me the timeline. Just bananas. I mean, and I know enough about video editing to know that was like, oh my God, that one was tough. I mean, you can't complain about it too much because it's like, well, the movie itself was obviously a lot more ambitious and tough to make than our cracking wise at it. But you do realize just how much work that is. Like, I mean, people watch stuff like Mystery Science Theater and Riff Tracks and those other kind of people inspired by that to make movie commentary. It's not as easy as it looks. You'd think it's just like, let's watch the movie and crack wise at it. We'll just since everybody is a comedy genius, they can just, it's easy. It's not. It's a lot of work.
Yeah. And, seeing something on the screen and something in your head, like, oh, I think that'll be good here. And you start writing it down. Then when you actually play it out when you actually are going and recording that, you're realizing the line isn't fitting in the section it needs to, or you're stepping on some other dialogue that you're saying or I'm saying. And then you have to either take that part out, trim it down, or say something completely different that aligns with that time code. And
it's like getting lyrics to fit into a song structure.
So it was challenging but fun nonetheless. We had a great time, and we had the director Mike Kuchik come on, and we did an interview with him. He was very pleased that we saw it, and had such a good time talking to him. And we got copies, signed DVD copies of the movie, and some Abba Sinister shirts. See, Abba Sinister. I didn't see Abyssinator. I think that was what I was trying.
Abyssinator.
Yeah. So after Death Metal, we jumped into another movie that it was not a remake per se, but I guess it might have been, was Jeepers Creepers Reborn.
And that one was oddly almost like a sibling to the Children of the Corn movie. It had a similar kind of, I don't know what you'd say, like, similar kind of approach to the filmmaking, which is, let's just get this turd done. It was so bad. I mean, I knew it was going to be bad, but it was one of those movies. It's just like you're getting kind of mad at the movie the more you watch it. Like, this sucks. Good. Like a bad date that you got to hang out with an hour and a half with this person.
Yeah, it was it was exceptionally dumb. I think that's the word I'm looking for. But what was fun about this was, again, it was very easy to make fun of. For some reason, the algorithm took this review and the commentary highlights and kind of shot them into YouTube verse, and we got several hundred views on both those, which is, I say several hundred, we had like 600, 700 views on the review, and then probably, I think, around the same on the commentary highlights. And that made me feel good because I was like, oh, okay, cool. That's a lot of eyes on, I don't know how many people actually watch to the end. You can kind of see the watch time in your analytics, but just seeing that many views is very, it makes you feel good because
it does.
It means more people are looking at it.
And I know what some YouTubers are thinking. It's like, that ain't shit, man. I got 6K. I mean, yeah, all right, I get it, but
that brings me into the next Cinematic Suffering Classic. Now, I didn't list all the Cinematic Suffering Classics that we released, but this one was 47 Meters Down. The original episode, I put this out on September 29th this year, but the actual episode, if you listen to the audio, it's one of our funniest fucking we don't riff 47 Meters Down. When we did Cinematic Suffering in the past, we broke down the movie. We broke down the movie from beginning to end, and we dissected it and tore it apart, almost not every scene, but pretty much up until the end. And we had such a good time doing this. You can hear it in the audio of the podcast that we're just loving ripping into this movie. And it got 152 views. That's the most of the classics that's ever gotten a view. It's more than some of our newer reviews. So I was really happy with the views that got on it.
I wonder if people saw that one, because didn't it star somebody that would probably kind of help?
It had Mandy Moore in it. I'm not sure what her star power is nowadays. But
I'm sure people now are like, Mandy who? It's like, she was big in the like mid to early to late 2000s.
Right. Yeah. No. But yeah, I had her. It had Matthew Modine for briefly in it, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So yeah, that was hilariously fun. I still like going back to those classic episodes and listen to it. And there's a part of me that wants to kind of review some movies like that again, where we just kind of break them down into their scene pieces and just rip on them.
That might be fun, I mean, it's our channel, we can do with it as we please.
Absolutely. I think during this time though, is when I kind of mentioned that I don't know, I can't remember whose idea it was. I think you mentioned doing Nightbreed, like reviewing it, or we're bouncing ideas about back and forth about doing like a retro review or something of Nightbreed.
Yeah. I can't remember who originally came up with that one either. It doesn't matter, but I mean, it was like you had mentioned that there was a what was it, a 30th anniversary release of it coming out? Like it had come out recently, so we were like, well, let's look at that one. I mean, it wasn't so contrived that it was like, oh, we're going to get a lot of views if we do pick a popular movie, but that was one that I was excited about because you and I both are huge Clive Barker fans. I think that anybody our age that's really into horror kind of was. He was our like Stephen King. Like we also like Stephen King, but this guy was fresh and new, and his books were just. I as a kid, I couldn't believe that I could just go to Walden Books and get this stuff. It was like I would read it thinking, how is this legal? It's just totally irreverent, and just he goes there with it, and he's a modern like H.P. Lovecraft. So at the time, I was really excited to see the movie, and for me, it kind of fell short because it was no Hellraiser.
Right,
it was fun to revisit that.
Yeah, it was a great retrospective because I like again, I don't know whose idea it was to do it at first, but I know we both had several ideas how we wanted to approach it. And my idea was to approach it like some other YouTubers that I know that kind of do retrospectives, and they use like graphics of themselves, representing themselves, kind of put it over the movie clips, and do all these weird things, just to kind of like avoid copyright infringements and stuff like that. And you had drawn up these great caricatures of you and in various modes of emotions, whether it was blah, pissed, somewhat happy, sarcastically happy or something. And so you had recorded all your parts that you needed to record. And so I just kind of took all your art and placed it, and I was discovering new kind of like techniques myself in the editing software, and that was incredibly fun and frustrating at the same time. But
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
it turned out to be a very big success. I mean, to us, a very big success, because it got like 1.2K views on it, and so I was like, wow, that was so good, and it was such a fun episode to watch and listen to.
Yeah, that was one that kind of stood out for me too, because I was you know, like I do all the artwork for our thumbnails, and you know, that's my background. I'm an illustrator, and it like that one was a lot of work on the front end, because normally I just do, you know, just the one thumbnail. This was
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm doing 6 caricatures, you know, and you know, I'm drawing them, inking them, coloring them. You know, that was a lot of work, and I could just look at what you were doing, and I knew that was an amazing amount of work compared to what
Yeah.
we normally do, because like just the editing, there was a lot of really you know, kind of clever editing. A lot of the jokes landed a lot better because of the way that you edited it, and it was fun for me to watch it,
Yeah.
because I get to see unexpected surprises too, like, oh, that's great, like he you know, put in some visual jokes to really punch up that moment. So
Yeah.
that one was a lot of fun. I'm real proud of that one. I thought that was a really fun collaboration.
Yeah, and I thought that was kind of going outside of our box too, because you know we like I said, we're usually just kind of like shooting the shit like we are in bits and chunks, or you know, we're specifically concentrating on one movie and we're talking about it. And this was like a kind of like another step up into another direction, maybe a more content like this. I thought the finished project, even though it was rough from my end, I think it was very fun. I still watch it
Yeah.
every once in a while to this day,
Oh yeah.
and
Yeah.
enjoy listening to it and watching it. Um, so all the time during this, by the way, it's not it's there may be some time lapses between when we put this stuff out, because we put that in October 11th. September, and the 47 meters down classic came out on the 29th of September. But during this part, we're always doing bits and chunks, so there's always
Yeah.
some kind of content coming out on the channel. Um,
Yeah, we've watched a lot of horror movies this year, and
yeah,
you know, like surprisingly, it's, you know, the big, you know, kind of joke of the channel is like it's cinematic suffering. We're suffering through these movies, but we ended up watching a lot of really good movies this year.
yeah, yeah. Even movies that that weren't necessarily bad that we watched on the channel, um, like No One Will Save You, that we
Yeah,
put out in October 30th. That was a new one that came out. It was on Hulu, and uh, I was like, let's just watch this new one, see how it is. And it wasn't exceptionally bad, but it was perfect cannon fodder to be made fun of, because
yeah,
there's no dialogue in the movie at all. Um, so it was fairly easy to make fun of that one, but also kind of sort of enjoy it to a point. Uh,
yeah.
I remember being overwhelmed by the action in it, because, pretty much 10, 15 minutes in, she's already being assaulted by aliens. And I'm like, okay, well, what the fucking happened the rest of the movie then? And that's pretty much what it is, her getting assaulted by aliens.
I can't help but wonder if that's kind of just a byproduct of a society that's just needs this constant drip of entertainment constantly, to where it's like it reminded me of like that Kong Island movie. It's like, golly, the helicopters barely get there, and King Kong is wrecking stuff. And that's
Right.
kind of
Yeah.
what it reminded me of, like, monster now.
And then complete utter action for the next hour and a half, and with barely any downtime. And it doesn't sound like such a bad thing, but sometimes you do need that downtime to, all right, can we have this character kind of relax and take note of where they are at the moment, and then have them get attacked again or something? Just
Yeah, it's almost like they upended where
yeah.
things are. I did appreciate that movie had a point and something to say, and a clear vision. I've noticed that even with us, that we were kind of conflicted about how we felt
Yeah.
about it, which kind of made me appreciate it that much more. If you're kind of wrestling with your own feelings about it, then there's something there.
Yeah, for sure. The next movie up on the list that we actively watched was something that we kind of threw a little wrench in the works, where we invited a friend of ours to pick the movie this time. I invited my friend Rhett, who is I've played in bands with Rhett Rhett Davis for years, including Grave Hill and Stygian Crown. He's played in bands like Morgion, Stygian Crown, and King of the Crow, and Crimson Relic, and all these killer bands over the years. So Rhett is a big fan of horror movies. You know, he likes to make fun of them. And I asked him, hey, just think of the dumbest movie you've ever seen, and Clay and I will watch it, and then we'll bring you on and we'll all discuss it. And he was kind of like racked, you know, because when you put someone on the spot to name a dumb movie, you know, you kind of do freeze up just a little bit, like, oh. So I said, take your time, dude. It's no rush. And so he finally came back and mentioned Jaws 3D.
Like, okay, interesting.
Yeah. And it was an interesting one because this is something I think I had seen before at least twice, and you had seen before.
It had been so long that I might as well have been watching it for the first time.
Right, and that's what I was thinking too. It'd been so long since I'd first seen it. So, yeah, we dived into it, and boy, that movie fucking sucks, dude. It's horrible, dude. Man.
It's like it set the stage. I think Jaws 2 probably set the stage for just bad shark movies. Like, shark movies now have to be bad. It's just like, it's almost like you can't, it doesn't fit into people's mind to make it a straightforward thriller anymore. It's just got to be silly and stupid. This movie just, like, you know, we did a little research to find out. It was, by the way, it was a blast having Rhett on the show. And I told him totally genuinely, anytime he wants to come on, more than welcome. That was a lot of fun. You know, but Jaws, like, we found out after doing some research after we watched it that the filmmakers had wanted to make it a comedy, and then they said, no, you're not making it a comedy. And I felt like the whole movie from then on was just done in protest. You could, like, the actors are talking over one another, and the dialogue is dumb and it feels ad-libbed, and everybody is acting manic and coked out through the whole movie. It's just such an energetic piece of shit too.
And the premise is pretty much the baby white shark dies in captivity, so the mama shark decides to take revenge. And I think you even said to the movie or in the review, you're like, I've never known shark to be particularly attached to their babies.
Yeah, to be very matronly. And
matronly.
And it's like, okay, nod to Beowulf. It's the story of Beowulf.
Yeah.
You know, it's exactly that. But yeah, it was a very silly movie.
But I enjoyed having Rhett on, and like you said, would love to have him on before. If anybody is coming on in the future, just make sure if you're drinking or eating anything, just like kind of mute your microphone or push it away from your mouth, because I did have to do a hell of a lot of editing to get that stuff out. But and I would love to have more guests on the show, and I've got several ideas, you know, whether we can make these special occasions or we do it often or not, you know, and whether we give them a list of the movies instead of them tell us what they want to watch. Maybe we give them a list of movies and they pick, and then we'll watch it, you know.
It's like this is your homework assignment. Oh, exactly. You know, it would I'm down with all that. Maybe we seek out some pseudo celebrities and they can help us boost our online notoriety.
Boost that algorithm, baby.
I know.
Then the last thing, pretty much, other than the holiday episode of Bits and Chunks, was the Fright Night retrospective. And
yes.
This was something I'd been working on pretty much since we finished up the Nightbreed retro. I had started working on. I had it as an idea, and originally it was going to be around the same kind of it was going to be the same idea where it would be like caricatures of me, similar to what you did with yourself, and I would just kind of put it in there as but then I started kind of like drifting towards another way to do it, which is I watch other YouTubers do the kind of like the same kind of content in similar ways, where the camera's just on me and then I'll split to whatever movie shots. That was fine. It was a tough one to write out and get together. You would ask me every once in a while, so you done with that Fright Night script yet? Or are you still working on Fright Night? I'm like, yeah, I'm still working on Fright Night. God damn it.
Well, and believe me, you weren't hurting my feelings, because I was, that was another one where the thumbnail art, much like Nightbreed, the thumbnail art was a little bit more ambitious than what I normally do for the thumbnail. So I really wanted to get it right. Anytime you're dealing with caricatures of the actors in the movies, it takes me a little bit longer. So I was working at my own pace also.
Yeah, that was so yeah, I enjoyed the artwork for that. I saw the preliminary sketches for it, and I was like, "Oh, it's gonna be so rad." And I'm really happy with the views that it's got on it. It still gradually gets some views, you know, and people have commented. It got a lot of nice comments on it, and that's always what I like to see. I like to see comments from people, no matter if they're saying they love the movie and we're wrong, or they agree with everything we say or not. It's great to engage with people who watch, and I love doing that.
Same here, and you should be proud of that one, because I thought I think that doing it the way that you did, where it's actually you in the camera and not some caricature, was the right decision, because a lot of the jokes, they worked on paper, but they really worked with your delivery. So I thought that was really good, and I like that one a lot. I thought that was a fun realization, knowing that we can do this kind of content too, and it doesn't. You know, I mean, it doesn't diminish anything else that we're trying to accomplish.
Right. Yeah.
It's not too lofty or anything, or too, I don't know, too pretentious.
Well, I mean, it's like, I know with 2024, we're going to be doing we're going to do some of the same stuff we have been doing, but I know we both have ideas on stuff that we want to do differently, with new content, or even the content that we have, to kind of mix up the bag a little bit. And I'm very excited. What have we done? We haven't done anything. We don't have anything in the bag right now. But
no, it's 2024 is genuinely a kind of a fresh slate for us. Like I mean, like, we're both really excited to keep doing this. I hope the audience grows, but if it doesn't, it doesn't. I mean, it's just a lot of fun for me. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, we have to just enjoy it. That's what I enjoyed about the first iteration of Cinematic Suffering, is that we did it out of enjoyment, and then once it no longer became that enjoyable, we just kind of stopped doing it.
Yeah.
But let me throw out a little plug to Leon Del Muerte at Beastman Audio, who crafted our new Cinematic Suffering theme that you hear the beginning and end of every of these the newer videos that you've been seeing. He's a great musician. I've known him a long time, and he's been in like bands like Exhumed and Impaled, and guest slotted in other bands throughout the United States. And it was really an honor to have him step up and give us a little music.
Oh yeah, and I couldn't imagine a cooler theme song, so that was really exciting to me too. One thing that I'd like to accomplish as we move into 2024 is to maybe collaborate with some animators that could make us a really killer animated intro and outro graphics. I've got ideas in my head, but I don't want to say I'm no animator, but I don't know how to use the software.
Sure.
And you can't just jump into that and figure it out. You have to have the mind of an animator to do it. I know what I want to do, and I can do the illustrations and even construct them in a way to where you can move all the pieces, but actually getting it to that point is something that I kind of need help with. So if there's any animators out there that want a possible gig and aren't going to try to bankrupt us, reach out.
Yeah, that would be totally rad. If we get an animator, or we do some kind of base animation stuff, the sky's the limit, especially with what we used to do as far as skits. That would work out perfectly.
Oh, hell yeah.
I would love it. This makes it very exciting. 2024, Happy New Year to everyone. I hope you have a great new year. I hope you had a great holiday. We're Cinematic Suffering. We've been here. It hasn't been an official year yet. It'll happen soon, but a lot has happened in the time frame that we've first opened the doors to the shop,
Yeah, it's been eventful, and we've stayed busy. It's and it's been fun to kind of look back and pat yourself on the back for a minute and go like, well, we put out a lot of content, and we've worked pretty hard on this. It's been fun. We've had to shoehorn it in around our obligatory day jobs, but it's been a hell of a lot of fun. It's been really rewarding, and I'm looking forward to what we come up with next.
Hell yeah. Me too, man. So I guess we can go ahead and end this. It's been an hour. I think this is the perfect time to end it. I didn't think it was just going to be a simple 30-minute episode. But it was nice to do a little retrospective on how far we've come and the stuff that we've seen and done over the past year. And here's to many, many more episodes and cool ass content and stupid, shitty movies in the future.
So many shitty movies.
Until next time, everyone. I'm Jason.
That's Clay.
That's Clay, and we're Cinematic Suffering. See you more in 2024.
Peace out, y'all.
Didn't mean to rhyme that, but
okay.
All right, I would end it now.
All right.
Bye.
See you.